Assalamu alaikum, dear student. Today we will talk about how to find 10% and 5% of a number. Welcome to Asaan Math with lecturer Misbahullah. How to find 10% of a number? It is a very easy task. We can do it shortcutly without using the definition of percentage or the method or the formulas used to find percentage. First we will find it using that formula. What is 10% of 800? Just convert it into mathematical form like this, that x is equal to 10% of 800. We have already discussed it in the previous lectures of percentage, that how to convert a statement to a percentage formula or mathematical form. Okay, so if you have not watched that video, so first you should watch that lectures. I will give the link in the description, so first go watch that videos, and after that you will be able to find 10% and 5% of a number shortcutly. Okay, so we just converted this statement to mathematical form, that x equal to instead of what we will use x as mean equality 10% of 800, just convert it into another form, that 10% means 10 over 100 multiplied by 800. Now just simplifying, this 0 will be cancelled with this, means we will divide both the numerator and denominator by 10, and similarly now dividing this by 10 and this by 10, so you will get 80. Okay, this x is equal to 80. We just to find 10% of a number, just divide that number by 10. Simple as that. Okay, so dividing 800 by 10, we will get 80. Or simple, move the decimal point to left hand side by one digit. Okay, so now in this number you can see that the decimal point is at the last of each number, so the decimal point is here. We will shift this decimal point to left side by one digit, so the decimal point will shift it from here to here, so it becomes 80.0, so we will take just 80. Okay, this is the 10% of 800. Now let's take another example, that is 34.99. To find 10% of this, you can directly say that the 10% of 34.99 will be 3.499. We will find it by formula now, but later on we should use this shortcut for solving such type of question when it comes in different tests and multiple choice questions. So 10% of 34.99 is 10 divided by 100 multiplied by 34.99. Just simplifying this, now 34.99 dividing by 10, we will get 3.499. Simply we just shift the decimal point toward left side by one digit like this. Okay, this is the shortcut method. Now what is 5% of 300? So 5% is actually half of 10%. Okay, 5% is actually half of 10%. If you want to find 5% of 300, first find 10% of 300, which is 10% of 300 is 30. Now divide 30 by 2, we will get 15. 15 is actually 5% of 300. So these two things you can find easily and using the shortcut trick. Number is 500, so 10% of this, just dividing by 10 is 50, and now dividing 50 by 2, it is equal to 25, means the 10% of 500 is 50 and the 5% of 500 is 25. Okay, so now you can easily find 5% and percent of each any number. Now this is 0.978, just dividing by 10 or just shifting the decimal point toward left hand side by one digit, you will get 0.0978. this is the 10% of this number, and dividing this by 2, we will get this number, and this is 5% of this number. Similarly for 640, just move the decimal point from right to left by one digit, so it will become 64.0 or 64. So 64 is 10% of 640, and similarly 32 is 5% of 640 by dividing 64 by 2, because 5% is half of 10%. I hope you understand. Now we will solve a question which is other than 10% and 5%, but we just 35% will be expressed in terms of 10% and 5%. Me 35% is actually 3 times of 10% plus 5%. So we first find 10% of 640, which is 64. Easily you can do it. So 10% of 640 is 64. Simple. Now 5% of 64, 5% of 640 is 32, means half of 64. ओके, सो 64 640 का जो 5% बनता है वो 32 बनता है. क्लियर, क्योंकि हम ये जो 64 है इसका हम हाफ लेंगे, 10% का जो है उसका हाफ लेंगे, तो ये 32 बन गया. अब 35% को मालूम करना है, तो इसको हम 10% और 5% की मदद से मालूम करेंगे. जस्ट राइट दिस 35% ऑफ 640 एज 3 टाइम ऑफ 10% ऑफ 640 एंड प्लस 5% ऑफ 640. Okay, so we just write 35% in terms of 10% and 5%. It is 3 times 10%, which becomes 30, and adding 5% with 30% we will get 35%. So we just split 35% into these two terms. Now 3 into 10%, so 10% of 640 is 64, and 64 times 3, and then plus 5% of 640 is 32. Just multiplying 3 by 64, 192, and plus 32 we will get 224. So 224 is 35% of 640. So if we use this type of method, means if something can be expressed in terms of 10% and 5%, so we should use these shortcuts. 10% just moving the decimal point to left hand side by 1 digit, and 5% is half of that 10%. Okay, just use these method, or this method you can shortcutly find any percentage of any number without any long calculation, and you can get answer very fastly. Okay, just practice on it. If you have any problem, then you can comment in the comment section. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.